Heat fans, time for the best insight of your favorite team with insider Ira Winderman, exclusively on the Big O Radio Show. It's the Acura of Pembroke Pines, Miami Heat and NBA report. Here's Ira Winderman.
Oh, yeah, there he is, the man, the myth, the legend. That is Ira Winderman. Make sure you follow him on Twitter, by the way, at Ira Heat Beat. And, of course, you can catch him twice a week here on Tuesdays and Fridays for the Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat report. And on Wednesdays, Inside the Paint. And, of course, Clay Ferraro joins him to talk all things Miami Heat and NBA. Ira, good morning, sir. How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing well enough for someone who now realizes, I am 3 weeks away from the start of training camp, that balls will be bouncing officially at FTX Arena, formerly American Airlines Arena, on September 28th. So it's getting real.
So it hasn't motivated you to get into crypto now that you are in a crypto-sponsored arena, sir?
I still think I'll stay with the greenbacks for sure, as long as they cash a little bit easier. So, as much as you want to pay me in Dogecoin or whatever it's called, I think I'll just take the straight Venmo transfer. But if you want to Venmo,
by the way, I have way too much respect for you to pay you in Dogecoin. Okay, if I respect you, I'm going to pay you in Ethereum. I'm going to pay you in Bitcoin. I'm going to pay you in Cardano. Okay.
I'll just take one Bitcoin. Right? I'll take a single Bitcoin. If we're talking Bitcoin, I'll change my thinking.
So you are following a little bit.
That's a little different story, All
right. Kyle Lowry, he obviously signed with the Miami Heat, had a big decision, could have signed at other places. He was on CJ McCullough's podcast, the Pull-Up Podcast, and he said, for me, it's only championships or bust. Going to Miami, that was a situation where I feel like this is what they want to do. I have a close friend, Jimmy Butler, there, and I feel like Miami, that's what they want to do. It's about winning championships. If you aren't playing for championships, what are you playing for? And that's the only thought process that went into my free agency is, where do I go to become a champion? And I thought that's one hell of a message. And this is a guy that doesn't have, the sands in the hourglass are going through right now for him, right? These are the days of his lives. And there's only a couple of maybe seasons left in that tank. And he's putting it all in on the table there, that this is the place where he can find a championship.
But Big O, was he really? Because let's be honest, if you read back that quote where it says that's the only thing he was thinking about, so he might have gone to a team that wasn't offering 3 years and $85 million. So he might have taken a 1-year deal. Look, if the only thing he was thinking about is a championship, take a minimum deal, go to Brooklyn. Take a minimum deal, go to the Lakers. I mean, let's be honest. He weighed his decision. He basically
he doesn't play much in Brooklyn. He's not
but he still gets the ring. If it's all about winning and contributing, he comes off the bench, he spots Kyrie Irving. So let's be honest here. If Kyle Lowry didn't get the 3rd year guaranteed from the Heat, but did get it perhaps from the Pelicans or from the Mavericks, let's be honest, he wouldn't be here. There's a cash component here. Players talk all the time about how winning is everything, and I'll subjugate myself to the team and I want to be part of it. Yes, but there's also part B, and there's an agent there who says, whoa, step back here a second. That's all well and good, but someone's going to make the money anyway, whether it's Mickey Harrison, whether it's Pat Riley, whether it's Eric Spoelstra. So make your money also. Kyle Lowry's with the Miami Heat, one, because he believes they can contend, but I believe more than that because they offered 3 years, $85 million fully guaranteed to a 35-year-old player. So that factored in also because, again, if we were being honest, if we weren't a Miami-based show and we were talking from a national perspective, and you were to line up the teams that you believe, whether it's the Vegas odds or otherwise, of winning the championship, you probably wouldn't have the Heat in the top 5. I wouldn't think right now when you're looking at Brooklyn and Milwaukee, you're looking at what Phoenix did last season, you're looking at the Lakers, and you can make arguments for other teams, Utah with their stacked roster. So that's part of it. He also saw a place. Some of the teams I mentioned, he would not be a starter like you mentioned. He wouldn't start over Kyrie. He wouldn't start over Chris Paul. He wouldn't start over Donovan Mitchell or maybe Mike Conley. So he wants to play. He wants his money. And of course he wants to win. And of course you say the right things. You don't go, you know what, I'm 35. I've already won a championship. What the hell? I heard the golf is really good in Miami, so I'm going down there for that. So it's more than just one thing, but at least say the right thing. So I do commend him for that.
And I heard Michelob Light is going to be his new sponsor. So there you go. Jimmy's got Michelob. He'll have Michelob Light.
Jimmy will take care of Kyle. Yeah, he'll be well taken care of.
I'm sure. All right. So having Lowry in the mix, this is what I wanted to ask you. And having Butler and having guys like PJ in there, you got a lot of veterans. How much of the influence do you think having that many veterans now, and they're also in kind of desperation mode because they are also at the twilight of their career, right? At the twilight of their career right now. How much will that influence these young guys to kind of turn it up? How much heat will be turned up on the young guys having these veterans around to kind of influence them?
You know, one of Eric Spoelstra's precepts on his 10 things for a season has been in recent years, sacrifice, celebrate the success of others. So if you put that in there, that sounds perfecto. And I think that's part of it. They will lead. They will show how you win. PJ Tucker has won a championship. Kyle Lowry has won a championship. Markieff Morris has won a championship. These guys know how to win. Here's my concern about part B of that, And again, you can have your pro-heat rah-rah guy on some other time, but I'm sort of trying to lay out some facts here. And here's my thought. PJ Tucker's on a 1 year with a player option. So he's probably looking a little bit toward his next contract. Markieff Morris, coming off his success with the Lakers, is on a 1 year veteran contract. I'm a little bit concerned about guys who are on 1 year contracts who are already looking ahead to their next deal. Will they be playing for the team and subjugating themselves, or will they be playing for their next deal? Now, Eric Spoelstra has been terrific about getting buy-ins from his players, about getting them to live in the moment. So I hope I am wrong here. But when you have a bunch of players on 1 year deals, that's a concern also. So you can say to me, hey, PJ Tucker's a proven tough guy. He's willing to put in the work. Yeah. He's come from ashes to where he is right now. So, yes, you would think that would help the young players. That would help players grow. And I hope you're right. Markieff Morris has been well-traveled. I hope you're right on that also. Or are they saying, hell no, he's not getting my minutes? Omar, you're what? No, I'm starting. I'm going to be the power forward. So I think it's a curious thing. They have an interesting blend. Like you pointed out, they have on the top end a bunch of veterans. They still have plenty of developmental players when you look at Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo and now maybe Omar Yurtseven. You know, you still have the kids. You have Marcus Garrett. You'll have another two-way player coming in.
The Strus is loose. Come on, you're leaving out the Strus loose.
Max Strus, I put him sort of in a middle range because he's an older player, played 4 years in college, 2 years already. You know, same thing with Gabe Vincent. But you have that nice mix. This, I don't know if it's going to be a challenge for Eric Spoelstra, but to me, it all comes down to the buy-in. Is everyone buying in just to live in the moment? We know that Jimmy is. He has a 4-year extension, he's set. We know that Bam is. He has a 5-year new contract, he's set. We know that Kyle Lowry is. He's getting a 3-year guarantee deal like we mentioned at 35. He's set. That's what you sort of want. You want guys who are saying, I'm a Miami Heat today, I'm a Miami Heat tomorrow. You know that with Jimmy. You know that with Kyle. You know that with Duncan Robinson in his 5-year, $90 million deal. You know that with Bam. Now you have to see about the rest of the roster also. And one name I haven't spoken to you since this happened last week, Tyler Hero, got his rookie scale option picked up for next season. But then they have that big decision after that on his rookie extension. So the question is Tyler Hero playing all for one for the team this year? Or is he saying, wow, Bam got $163 million for 5 years? I want to get me one of those. And do you get me one of those only averaging 12 or 14 points? So Eric Spoelstra sort of has a bunch of hot coals he'll be walking over during the season as well.
The only thing I would follow up on one of the concerns you have is I actually like the 1 year deal for those guys because it keeps them motivated. On one, if they want to do anything else in the future, they've got to kick ass this year in order to get it. And two, you're already tied down enough to 2 older players for long-term deals. I kind of like the 1 year deal because it keeps you liquid. To tie yourself down to 2 more older guys for multi-years, that already even adds more to the risk that you're taking with Lowry and Butler on their long-term deals. So I find it all being positives pretty much, being on the one-year deal. And the key is one of the things you talked about there. I think PJ Tucker is an ultimate pro.
Right.
I think that guy's going to play hard for free, not just for money. I think he has a character that he's going to bring it no matter what. Now, the Morris boys, they've had their ups and downs in this league. And so, when you were talking about it, and then you followed up with Morris, notice how I stayed quiet on that one.
Yeah.
I can't call either Morris guy the kind of pro that PJ Tucker's been in his career.
I am curious about Markieff Morris to that extent. We've talked about all these Heat players and where they fit. And like you said, PJ Tucker, he might be an undersized, 4, but ain't no one backing him down in the post. He's going to muscle you back up. So I get that. We know who Kyle Lowry is. He's a tough guy also. He's one of these guys. Don't tell him he's 6 feet, because when he looks in the mirror, he sees a player a lot bigger. So I'm not worried about that. How much will they be relying on Markieff Morris? Could maybe an Omar Yurtseven bypass him in the rotation when they go big and play another way? Will Dwayne Dedmon get so many minutes and be so effective on the boards that maybe you see Dedmon and you see Adebayo together? So I do think Markieff Morris is sort of the one of the question marks. The one thing I'll say about that is this. You tell players their whole career, if you win, you will be taken care of. Well, Markieff Morris won 2 years ago. He wasn't taken care of by the Lakers. PJ Tucker won just in July. And they were very honest. Mark Lasry, the part owner of the Bucks, came out in a podcast and he said, look, the luxury tax is onerous. We love PJ Tucker. We just couldn't afford it. What message does that send a player where you tell him, come over from Houston, take the trade with us instead of the trade with Miami. We will bring you in and we will get you a championship. We will take care of you. But they didn't take care of him. They let him walk instead of paying the luxury tax. So this whole message of, and again, that's why I think it's hard for Eric Spoelstra, of be selfless, of celebrate someone else's success. Well, PJ Tucker did exactly that in Milwaukee. And he has a championship ring and a championship trophy. And now he also had to wind up relocating. So you know what? Sometimes these teams tell you one thing, but the result is not exactly the same as the message.
All right, let me give you a philosophical look at the Miami Heat in the upcoming season, and you tell me what you agree, disagree with on this. The potential of this team, and we talked a little bit about it, it's kind of like two engines you have in the car, and you have your veteran engine and you have your young engine, right? And I kind of feel like if you can get the right mix with these guys, and you could get Duncan and Tyler and Bam, and then eventually Oladipo, on the back end, in the back end of the regular season, the playoffs. If those guys can give you consistent scoring, and if Tyler can finally take that next step, we know Duncan's there, we know Bam's there, but if you could get Tyler to take that next step, and if Oladipo stays healthy, the combination actually could be incredibly deadly, because the other guys, they don't have to score a boatload of points now all of a sudden. All of a sudden now, they can do what the wily veterans do. Facilitate, defend, set up, occasionally score, hit some of the clutch baskets that they may need in tight moments, those kind of things. It really could be one hell of a combination. But I really feel like this season, if you're going to go deep, it's really all based on the young guys, and especially the two guys, Tyler, to finally take that next step, and Oladipo to stay healthy. If those guys can do their part in scoring and the other guys do their part in the leadership and the defense, this team could be really threatening deep into the playoffs.
Yeah, the one thing you want to see is you want Eric Spoelstra to have hard choices. You want to have you and I come on twice a week on the Acura Pembroke Pines Report and talk about what did Spo do this and not do that. You sort of like the Dolphins receivers. You want to have a healthy debate because you have good choices. You want to say, well, should he have played Vic over there because he needed the defense, or Tyler because he was on a hot streak? Should he have left Duncan in the game because he had 6 3-pointers already, or was he smart going with the defensive Tucker at the end of a game? You want Eric Spoelstra to have those tough choices. You want him to have to pick among 8, 9, 10 options, which 5, 6, or 7 he's going to trust, like Pat Riley always mentioned, how you wind up trusting fewer and fewer when you get to the end. So you want to have to make those decisions. You want Tyler Hero to be so much in your consciousness that you have to say, well, yeah, Victor Oladipo is back, but we have a decision on Tyler's extension, or we have to give Victor Oladipo a contract. I better go to Pat Riley's office and see how we're going to play it, because you have too many good choices. And I think that's the one thing. It's interesting, how you group those two together. Because let's look at the Heat salary structure. You have a maximum deal for Jimmy Butler. You have a maximum rookie scale extension already in place for Bam Adebayo. You have a near max contract for his age group for Kyle Lowry. You have 5 years and $90 million for Duncan Robinson. So if next offseason you're going to add one more major deal, you could do it with a Tyler Hero rookie scale extension for 5 years, or you can get Victor Oladipo back to where he believes he should be in the high 20s or high 30s. What I don't believe you could do, Big O, maybe you disagree, is give them both the money and have 6 of those contracts on your roster. So you become one of these teams. You have your 6 guys and everyone else is minimum because of injuries and because of age of Jimmy and Kyle and some of your older players. That could be dangerous. So I really think this season is about Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo competing for sort of the next big chance. Like, do you want to be a multimillionaire? And that's how the season plays out. I don't think the Heat can take care of both. I think that's why the trading deadline could come into impact also. But I think that's where a decision, not only for Eric Spoelstra rests, but also for Pat Riley and for Andy Ellisberg.
How do they handle the vaccination deal? Because now I'm looking where the United Center is going to require proof of vaccination or a negative test in order to attend their games. Has the Miami Heat gone forward with what their rule is going to be for people that attend? And then part B, we see that the NFL is having some issues with some of the coaches that maybe making decisions based on vaccination. We're watching here week 1 with the Miami Dolphins that Adam Shaheen has already affected what's going on. How are the Heat handling all of that, the vaccination or the unvaccinated players?
Internally, they handle it very well. By the end of last season, every player was vaccinated. It wasn't a concern. Now, remember, we have a big turnover this year where they brought in a whole bunch of new players. You have to wait to see what those players choose for or not. This has gotten sort of misreported a little when people are saying the NBA is now making it more difficult and punitive for those who aren't vaccinated. Actually, it's the opposite. They've made it a lot easier for those who are. You don't need daily testing. You don't have to land at 4 a.m. on a back-to-back and 8 a.m. be there for testing if you're vaccinated. But if you're not vaccinated, for example, on the team flight, they have luxurious first-class seats. The players all sit up there. Even the coaches will sit in the back in the regular coach section. If you're not vaccinated, you can't sit next to the players anymore. So all of a sudden, you might have a 3-hour flight somewhere where you're sitting in a coach seat that you're not used to it. So it's not that they're penalizing those who aren't vaccinated. They're simply easing the restrictions for those who are. Based on last season, the Heat getting everyone vaccinated, I'm sure that'll be a push. When it comes to fans, it's completely different because of the state government in Florida, because of how Ron DeSantis has chosen, take your political side, whatever you want, to handle this thing. I think there's a problem that if the Heat say you must be vaccinated, honestly, I could see, I know you follow international soccer. You saw what happened with Brazil and Argentina, where all of a sudden they said, hey, those guys came from the Premier League. They didn't vaccinate. The game started and then they stopped because they said they didn't meet the requirement. I could see, just because of the climate in our state, the Heat saying fans have to be vaccinated, and then they start a game, and literally they get a court order from the anti-vaxxers saying, no, you have to stop the game. This is an illegal gathering. This is not a Heat decision. This is the Miami Heat simply trying to get clarity from the state. What can we do? Can we be like the Nets and the Knicks and the Warriors, or now you mentioned the Bulls, and require vaccination, which I believe, not told on the record, but I believe they would prefer based on how they're handling their employees, or simply because of where they're located and the political climate, can they not do that? So I don't think this is a Heat decision. I don't think it's a decision of the Miami Heat or Mickey Arison or FTX Arena. I think this is a matter of this team operates in Florida. Florida has chosen to handle the pandemic, say what you want, in a certain way, and they will take that guidance. Right now, I think it would be very difficult for any business of that size to demand vaccination, to close someone out from showing up at the game who says, I have a ticket, I have season ticket, and not have them run and get a court order, and all of a sudden with 6:25 left in the first quarter, the Heat's opener against the Bucks is suspended. It's a tough call for the Heat if they want to invoke that. I think they're waiting for more guidance, for more clarity, whether it's from the government or whether it's from the courts. It's a shame it's gotten to that point, but you live here. You know what's going on. We saw what happened with the cruise lines. The Heat doesn't want to get stuck in the middle of that. They just want to play basketball.
Barkley came out and basically called players that are unvaccinated selfish. Will that attitude permeate through locker rooms in the NBA if unvaccinated players are costing vaccinated players time to miss and they're costing them games? I'm wondering if that's going to happen now in the NFL, because you're going to have to forfeit a game. They're not going to make up games now. How is the NBA going to handle all of this stuff? What if an unvaccinated player pollutes a locker room and it ends up costing them? And I know that we sometimes can't even prove where it really came from and where it originated, which is a problem. And I know the other side is, oh, we've got to walk on eggshells here because we may be insulting somebody that's unvaccinated and this and that. So how does that attitude take over in the NBA? Are guys going to let this kind of slide and, hey, it's your choice and it's cool? Or do you think if it starts costing people games, it will become a problem for coaches, front office, and even players?
I think it'll be peer pressure, and I don't think it'll be rules pressure. Like I just pointed out to you, team plane. Do you not want to sit in first class? Do you want to sit in steerage and have to wear a mask? Do you want to take a separate bus from the airport, from the hotel, and from games and sort of be separated from your teammates? At some point, you're going to go, I think it's just not worth it unless you are firmly on that stand. This is my belief when it comes to athletes, because I've been following the U.S. Open tennis on this, and so many of the men's players are not vaccinated. When you play a team sport, you agree to be part of a collective, just like you're part of a union or a part of a broadcast company, a part of a newspaper company, and you play by those rules. The difference to me is when a player at the U.S. Open decides not to get vaccinated, his body is his business. He doesn't get a check whether he's sick or not. If he doesn't show at a tournament, he doesn't get a paycheck. So those guys saying, I don't want a vaccine, are saying, I know what's going into my body. I know exactly how I wind up feeling. I have to play to get paid. I'm a singular proprietor, an individual proprietor. I think that's different. I think if a golfer or a tennis player makes that decision, that's fine. That's on them. They don't play next week. They get pulled out of the U.S. Open. I think if you agree to be part of a team sport, then I think you have to have a certain amount of go along with it. And unless you have just such beliefs, we've seen Cole Beasley and the way he comes out and be so fervent and strong, that's fine, because I do think there's a certain level of player including in the NFL, who'll say, fine, I just won't play. We saw players opt out of the NFL for the different reasons of they don't want to be affected in previous seasons. They can make that choice also. They most have made enough money, certainly in the Cole Beasley realm, that if he misses a paycheck or two, it's like, okay, whatever. I've made plenty of money. I feel strongly enough on this. I believe with Heat culture and Heat Nation and all the words we've heard, I don't think that'll play out. I don't think what Urban Meyer, what they said or he said he did, I have no issue with that. I want to know that I have my best chance to line up for my team to be fair to the other 14, 15, 16 players on this roster and give them the best chance, because I don't want to have to penalize player A, B, and C because players X, Y, and Z didn't want to comply. It's a different time. It's a tough time. I understand that unions are involved, that things are collectively bargained. But I think at some point you either have to say, I am in on this circumstance, or like the NFL players did and other players did in recent seasons, I will opt out for the season until this is done. That's an option also. You don't have to be an NBA player. You don't have to collect an NBA paycheck. You can go work somewhere else. And if you're skilled, there'll be a time eventually when this goes away, God willing, and then you come back and be a player. So, but if you're trying to be part and you agree to be part of a collective, then that means you have to be part of collective decisions as well.
Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. Catch him twice a week here exclusively, Tuesdays and Fridays, with the Acura of Pembroke Pines, Miami Heat, and NBA report. Tomorrow, Ira and Clay will return from 10 to 11 for, of course, Inside the Paint, brought to you by Pallet Rack City. They will dedicate to the NBA and the Miami Heat one entire hour for you hardcore basketball fans. You will get your fix here constantly every single week. Ira, as always, my friend, thank you very much. And go read up and learn a little more crypto.
If you tell me that's what I got to do, looking forward to tomorrow and catch you back on the Acura Pembroke Pines report on Friday. Thank you, O.
You got it. Test on Friday for you. There you go. Ira, getting it done.
You've been listening to the Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA report with Ira Winderman. When you're looking for award-winning service and great deals from the #1 volume Acura sales dealership in the Southeast United States, you go to Craig's Inn Acura of Pembroke Pines at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.